Yes, you saw that title correctly. This is not clickbait, okay? We have Douglas Murray, we have Piers Morgan going at it over children identifying as animals. Nah, this is crazy. This is wild. Viewer discretion is definitely advised on this one. Let's ride.
LGBT activist and human rights campaigner Peter Tatchell, political journalist Ava Santina, and by the best-selling author and conservative commentator Douglas Murray. Well, Douglas, you're safely over there in the United States, so let me start with you before the fun starts here. This stuff reads like a joke, but it's really not funny when you get into the weeds of it. This is limitless self-identity gone bonkers.
Yeah, it's the very stupid results of a very stupid ideology being rolled out by very stupid people. Basically, everything has come unstuck in recent years by the ever-expanding alphabet acronym people, where the fight for gay rights and minority sexual rights turned into this demand, this claim that there was no such thing as biological sex. As Peter Tatchell and others well know, the argument for gay rights was won by saying, we're just like the rest of you. It was also won by saying, you know, we just want to live and let live. Yet the gender ideologues have done something totally different. They've said, you don't have the right to have your own say in this. We are right, and you have to agree with us. They say, we're here, and instead of saying we're here, we're queer, and just get used to it, it's we're here, and as a result, biological reality doesn't exist. Well, clearly, this very, very idiotic ideology is causing havoc. Just today, Piers, there's another tape from a school in Scotland where some poor boy is having to explain to his teacher that there's only two biological sexes and that the gender woo-woo stuff is nonsense. And yet again, it's the student having to educate the teacher because the teacher has been indoctrinated into stupidity due to the gender ideologues.
OK, Ava, you're laughing. Why?
It's just quite amusing, really. I mean, we're talking about children that are 12 and 13. I mean, when I was at school, I had a girl who identified as a horse, but not in this sort of like problematic way that we're now labelling it. She didn't actually think.
Guys, it's really not funny. It's really not. It's really not. I'm definitely at a loss for words because I always say it in almost every video. Just leave the young ones out of it. Stop pushing this garbage on them. And you wonder why our education, the entire system, is completely flawed. Because instead of, and by the way, there, you know, people in kindergarten and first grade aren't learning about credit, but instead of at any point learning about something like that, they're learning about this stuff, right? Or your ABCs, colors. What about that? What about dignity? What about integrity?
She was a horse. She was just quite strange and walked around and, you know...
But nobody at the school then, no teachers would have tolerated that in the way that this is now having to be tolerated.
No teacher would have tolerated bullying of that child. And that's what this teacher in Sussex has done. They've said it's not acceptable for boys in that class to take the mickey out of someone who's obviously clearly just a child and they're exploring their imagination.
Who says they're a cat?
Yes, but Piers, they're 12.
And is actually interfering with the lessons by talking in cat language, including meowing, and if people don't go along with this, refusing to cooperate.
Yes.
That is not just having a bit of fun being a cat. That is actually assuming the identity of an animal that this person is not, and then insisting everybody else conform to it. That is madness.
That's not what's happening. What's happening is there's a child who's slightly more imaginative than their peers, and they are acting out this sort of fallacy, and that's fine.
I hear what Piers is saying, though. I'm not knocking what Piers is saying, right? Because when I remember being in school, when one person did it, everybody would copy. Everybody would copy. So I definitely hear him. But yeah, let's get our angle.
But to make it about trans, this is where it gets dangerous, okay? The Telegraph...
Oh, it's very damaging to trans people. I agree.
Right, okay.
I agree with that.
The reason it's most damaging, the Telegraph have been reporting this, it's up 400% in the last couple of years, them reporting trans issues. I don't understand why they've got this weird obsession with going into
Let me explain why.
classrooms.
Let me explain why.
No, it's quite gross.
Let me explain why. When you have in women's sport 6'4" biological males destroying biological females at elite sport level in swimming pools, on racetracks, in other sports, that's when it becomes a full frontal assault on women's rights to fairness and equality.
Yeah.
And when you include them going into dressing rooms and so on and mixing with biological females, then there's a safety issue. When you have, as we had in Scotland, a male rapist identifying at his trial as a woman to get put into a woman's prison and being sent there by the female boss of Scotland at the time, who's now obviously in her own troubles, that is why this is happening. Kids are watching all this stuff, and as kids do, they want a piece of the action.
No, Piers, don't be ridiculous. There's no similarity between a child wanting to be a cat when they're 12 years old and someone competing in the Olympics.
Oh, there is.
There is
Peter,
no comparison.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Playtime is over, right? Obviously kids play, like, for sure. If they're doing it as just playing around, okay, that's one thing. But if it's a continual thing, then you have to tell them to stop. You have to tell them to stop. And lack of discipline as well, which we don't usually speak about, is a big thing. The right discipline, right? But yeah. Back to the video. I'm not like trying to. By the way, I'm not trying to say, oh, how you should raise your kid, but you have to. I do know there has to be some sort of line with this stuff where it's like, okay, cut it out, right? But back to the video. Let's see.
You and I have had a lot of civilized conversations about all this, right? And I want to continue that. I don't think that the trans community gets helped at all by any of this, right? But I don't think it's the media obsessing. I think what you're seeing is, as the trans community get ever more active and populous, if you like, for want of a better phrase, and their activists get more aggressive, when they go to battle on things like women's sport, they're losing everyone and they're piling mockery onto the trans community.
If we can go back to the Telegraph article,
yeah,
it's quite mischievous. Out of the, I don't know, million or more pupils in our schools, they come up with 5 examples. 5 examples out of a million. Now, that's wrong. I agree it's wrong. But, as Ava says, the kids are just acting out fantasies. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be Robin Hood.
But that's fine. That's fine. But the schools should not be tolerating it.
But the schools are not.
A teacher should not be saying, if you believe that women have vaginas and men have penises, you have to leave the school. That is complete nonsense.
No.
Right?
In this particular case, the Telegraph cited this handful of examples. They were by teachers, individual teachers. They were not school policy. And in at least one case, the school disowned the teacher and the policy and said that it wouldn't happen again.
But what about this case in Rye College?
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are some examples of excesses, but on the basis of those exceptions, you can't make a generalised attack upon the school system and suggest that all our kids are being propagandised in this way, because it's simply not
Well, when you hear
happening.
that teacher, I think, to bring Douglas back in, when you hear that teacher, there's clear evidence of what we've all been fearing has been going on, which is a teacher caught on tape literally spewing nonsensical gender ideology propaganda.
But one teacher.
Yes,
only one teacher.
Yeah, I don't think it's just. But here's my problem. I don't think it's just one teacher. I highly doubt that is just one teacher. Now, I don't live in the UK. I live in the United States, and in here, I could tell you straight up, they're doing it. Like here, absolutely, that woke stuff. They're starting the kids off young, unfortunately. So that I know for a fact. Now over there, I'm not sure. But here they're putting it in books, right? Which is freaking disgusting to me. And I am not for that at all. Absolutely not. So Piers definitely does have a point here. And yeah, let's keep getting his angle, because I get their point, I get their side as well, right? Of course, like this is an extreme example, right? But still, back to the video. Let's see.
One teacher, tens of thousands.
Hang on. One teacher caught on tape. Right, there've been many other instances of this being reported, but no one's actually had it on tape. It's a bit like, I would liken it to the Partygate scandal when we finally got a video of the people having what was clearly a party. There have been lots of rumours about it. So now we have a teacher clearly on tape doing this stuff.
But it's not official school policy.
If I may,
schools across the country
well, she's still, to my knowledge, she is still working at that school. Douglas.
If I may, first of all, Ava rather unfortunately misspoke earlier when she said that the schoolgirl in question was acting out of fallacy. I think you meant a fantasy. But actually, she is acting out of fallacy.
Thanks ever so
fallacy.
much. But do you know what I find fascinating?
She was right with fallacy.
Do you know what's fascinating about Douglas?
Has been propagated, a fallacy which has been propagated by gender ideologues and is doing profound damage to gay people, among others, in our society, as well as women.
Like
and let me explain very
explain
very quickly why. I can't quite hear you, but I can hear you muttering something. Let me quickly explain why. A poll that just got published in the United States showed that among the general population, support for gay marriage has been starting to decline in the last year. Why is that? It's because the arguments that actually brought about liberal rights for all minorities in the last few decades have started to get turned on their head and turned against people. What is the source of that? It is the gender ideology movement. What is the tripwire for the general public? It is children. It is people learning that their children are being taught nonsensical things. It is being seen by the wider public, most of whom are heterosexual and don't need to identify as cis or anything else. It is being seen from that vantage point as the LGBTQIA plus movement losing control of itself. And so a backlash is starting. And the backlash is coming because people are lying to children and are using children for medical experiments. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing that should cause levity in that. It should be treated by adults seriously.
OK, Ava?
So, Douglas, it's really important, actually, all of that point that you've just brought up, it's very on brand for you because, you know, you like to stoke fear. You've actually made a career out of it. I'll take you back to your book.
Ah, you see that? You see slick. You think you're slick. You're taking... You see... Guys, I just finished reacting to The View. Don't bring The View here, okay? No disrespect, but come on. Like, don't try to spin around. Don't try to do a spinaroo, right? Let me... Spin you back, okay? Right? Look, you didn't even acknowledge what Douglas just said. Douglas just spoke facts just now. He just uttered facts. And again, I get, and one thing I want to be careful with is I get different regions because I believe I believe Piers and Doug, I think they live on the other side of the pond, or I believe they live in the UK, where I live in the United States. So, you know, I don't know their school system. Now, I can tell you what Douglas is saying, though, is happening. Let me look at the camera. Is happening in this country, in the United States of America. I could 100% happening here, right? I just don't know. I would suspect it's happening over there as well, right? And the fact that it's happening here, I mean, that's enough for me to want to put my foot down and say, I'm not going for it, right? I'm not, especially, you know, in the education system and spewing that garbage and that nonsense. The system pushing the gender ideology and all the woke garbage and nonsense into our children's schools and into, you know, these different facilities and places. And what do you guys think about that, right? I'm very curious to know, how do you guys feel about that in particular? Because I, of course, don't stand for it. When you get to a certain age, of course, yes, you have, you know, you get educated about, you know, your gender and stuff like that. We all had to watch a video, right? And I think that was in 5th grade, I believe, right? Or 6th, one of them. So yes, I'm not saying that, you know, again, absolutely, I get that piece of it. But, you know, not in kindergarten. Come on. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you kick the subscribe button and hit the like button for more. Until next time, peace.